Do you hear that?
Oh, how can it not be? It's ridiculous. It's like, it's obvious where you want to spend your time then. I mean, come on.
Kody looked smaller, not in size, in certainty. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "I'm not here to ask for anything. I'm sorry. Not to make it right. To admit I was wrong. I tried to control everything and forgot how to love anyone." Christine didn't fill the silence. "You don't have to forgive me," he added. "I needed to say it. To your face. Especially for her." He glanced past Christine. Truly stepped forward, hesitant. "I don't hate you," she said, plain as daylight. "I'm still mad." "That's fair," he answered. She hugged him, brief, small, then drifted away. Christine stepped outside with him. "This doesn't change anything," she said. "I know," he replied. "Maybe it changes something for her," she said. "Not for us." He nodded and left. No drama, no music. Just a goodbye that didn't hurt. In her journal that night, she wrote, "Today my daughter set her own boundary, and I let her. That's how I know I'm healing." Summer warmed the house. Garden days with Janelle, Mary's book club. Kids dropping by with noisy shoes and bigger laughs. The life Christine hadn't planned turned out better than the one she was promised, because this one was real. An email arrived from TLC Sister Wives, the next chapter. Full creative control. Her voice, her way. Christine smiled. Maybe a book. Maybe nothing at all. The power wasn't the offer, it was the choice. The strongest story isn't the one they film. It's the one you claim. Autumn softened Salt Lake City with gold. Christine watched Truly chase the dog across the lawn, laughter ringing through the open window. Life wasn't perfect. It wasn't supposed to be. It was hers. Almost a year since the first gavel. Secrets dragged into the light. Women who once stood behind a man now stood beside each other. Christine had outlived not only a marriage, but a mythology. She wasn't a title anymore. She was a woman, a mother, a survivor. That truth fit like armor. A local forum invited Christine, Janelle, and Mary to speak about healing and identity. The room was full, faces already wet before they spoke. Christine stood at the mic and let silence do the first part. Then, "I spent 20 years believing love equals sacrifice," she said. "I learned that real love never asks you to disappear." No applause. Just listening, the loudest kind. Afterward, a woman wept into Christine's shoulder. "You saved me. I needed someone to show me I could go." Christine hugged her because she remembered the exact moment she'd needed someone to say the same. At home, Truly thrived. Therapy, sleep, laughter, visits with her dad, on her terms. Christine quit picking fights that weren't hers. Peace is not loud. It's a quiet room where nobody is scared anymore. Gwen dropped by with a hard drive. Old home movies flickered, messy kitchens, babies on hips, women building a life while their hearts cracked in secret. "This is what I remember," Gwen said. Not the show. "We worked so hard," Christine whispered, tears finally free, "even while we were breaking." She called Mary and Janelle. They watched on the floor, not with regret, with tenderness for the girls who thought love was always yes, and for the women who learned how to say no. "We should tell the whole story," Janelle said. "Our version. Podcast?" Mary grinned. They laughed, and a month later, unscripted, Life After Polygamy launched. Imperfect. Honest. Letters poured in by the thousands. I left too. I'm still in it, but I'm listening. You said what I couldn't say. Christine realized this wasn't closure. This was purpose. A producer called next. Not reality, a scripted drama based on real lives in their words. Christine looked at her friends and smiled. Then we write the script. And maybe they will. Maybe they already are. Another letter came from Robyn. Not an excuse. Not a plea. Just, I see it now. I'm sorry I wasn't brave. Christine folded it into the drawer with the others. People heal on their own clocks. She wouldn't wait for anyone's apology to start living. She already had. Winter truly turned 14. Cupcakes, bad dancing, a speaker blaring from a phone. Christine watched her daughter loose and loud and happy and thought, this was all I ever wanted. Kody's gift arrived, a necklace, no note. Christine let Truly decide. I'll keep it, she said. It's part of my story. That was enough. Not revision. Not revenge. Truth. The podcast climbed charts. Offers rolled in. Possibilities multiplied. But the real win was smaller and braver. Christine woke up free. No more auditions for approval. No more shrinking. Every day a choice, quiet or loud, either way, hers. Maybe the greatest victory isn't ink on a court order. Maybe it's the morning you don't have anything left to prove. So after everything, the betrayals, the breaks, the rebuilding, whose side are you on? Tell me below. Let's talk. Tell me below. Let's talk. The judge's last instruction was simple. Kody only needed to show up, not with a publicist, not with a lawyer speaking for him, but as a father. He nodded, shuffled his papers, and then lifted his eyes. Thank you. I will render my decision now. The room went breathless. In consideration of the child's statements, the expert evaluations, and the documented history of parental involvement, the court denies joint custody. Sole legal and physical custody is awarded to Ms. Kody Brown. Supervised visitation may occur at the child's request and on her timeline. Christine closed her eyes, not in victory, in relief. Truly was no longer a bargaining chip or a headline. She was a child who finally had permission to breathe. Kody remained seated, still as stone, somewhere between anger and collapse. But that was no longer Christine's concern. This was never about his image. This was about her daughter's peace. On the steps outside, microphones lunged like spears. Christine, what's next? Will you speak out? Another TV deal? She didn't answer. She looked past the cameras to a car window where a small hand cradled a drawing. In that single glance, the noise of the world didn't matter. Days turned into weeks. The headlines moved on. New scandals replaced old flames. But Christine didn't chase the spotlight. She built a life that didn't need it. Truly started counseling. Janelle came by with groceries and gossip every Thursday. Mary sent a long letter, not a defense, a confession, and Gwen drifted back with a steadier step and clearer eyes. Then months later, a plain envelope arrived. No return address. Robyn's handwriting. Not a performance, not a PR spin. One page, messy and human. I lost myself in the role. I believed being chosen made me matter. It only made me disappear. I can't ask forgiveness, but I hope Truly knows I never wanted this for her. Christine tucked the letter in the drawer with the others. Not to relive it, to remember. Healing didn't erase the scars. It let them breathe. One day, years from now, Truly might scroll through every clip, every rumor, every courtroom recap and rewatch the collapse in slow motion. But the thing she will keep will be quieter, that her mother kept showing up. Not to win, to protect. Christine gave her a rarer inheritance than money or land, quiet, truth, and a home that didn't need a script. That night, Christine stood at the window and watched her daughter draw rainbows in a notebook. She whispered words she'd waited 15 years to believe. We made it. Not just out of a marriage or through a trial. Into herself. Time passed. The courtroom emptied. Life kept calling. School drop-offs, grocery runs, coffee dates with Janelle, sunlight pooling on a kitchen floor. Healing arrived like spring in Utah. Shy at first, then certain. On the porch, Christine sifted through old photos. All the women with arms slung around one another, smiling too wide, holding a life together with grit and hope. A picture of Kody with baby Truly, both of them radiant, unaware of the storm to come. She held that one the longest, not with longing, but with peace. She could finally look back without being pulled back. That was new. That was hers. Janelle showed up the next morning with coffee and a curveball. You won't believe who called, she said, flopping onto the couch. Leon, Christine blinked. Mary's kid? They've been watching, processing, ready to talk. Maybe it's time, Janelle said softly. Time for what? To stop surviving and start rebuilding. Survival ends the war. Healing starts the life after. A voice note from Mary arrived days later. No excuses, no performance. I'm sorry for all I swallowed, for all I didn't say. If you're willing, can we meet? No cameras, just us. Christine listened 3 times. Then texted back, come tomorrow. When Mary stepped through the door, it felt like seeing a familiar ghost. The kind that knows every inside joke and the difference between I'm fine and I'm actually fine. They sat in the kitchen the way they had in Arizona, Las Vegas, Utah, but this time with nothing to hide behind. I resented you for leaving, Mary admitted. It made me see my cage. You were brave. I wasn't. You needed more time, Christine said. We all did. We thought silence would keep the peace, Mary whispered. We thought love meant staying, even when staying was killing us. Christine nodded. Turns out love means leaving when staying erases you. Mary pulled a folded paper from her purse. A letter they all signed in 2012, promising to show up for one another no matter what. Not as wives now, as women who outlived a story meant to define them. We already came back to it, Christine said, returning the note. Not backwards, forward. The air changed after that. Janelle laughed more. Mary texted daily. Gwen and Leon spoke without flinching. Not a fairy tale ending, a grown-up one. Less glitter, more truth. Then, during a batch of half-burnt cookies with Truly, a knock. Kody. Christine stilled. Truly's eyes lifted, unsure. Christine set down the bowl, opened the door just wide enough. What do you want? She asked, voice steady. Love can survive distance, time, and hardship, but it never survives being treated like an option. Overnight, Christine and Janelle's simple benchside video went viral. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't polished. It was raw. It was truth. Within hours, women across the country, some in plural marriages, some in monogamous ones, began sharing their own stories. Stories of being silenced, overlooked, erased. Christine and Janelle were no longer just reality TV stars. They had become symbols, survivors, voices for thousands who had none. But while the world was rallying behind them, another storm was brewing in the shadows. Kody Brown filed a counterclaim. Not for money, not for land, not for trust funds. For custody of Truly. The headline exploded like a bomb across every screen. Kody Brown seeks custody of daughter in shocking counter move. Christine stared at the papers in disbelief. For years, Kody had shown little interest. Sporadic calls, rare visits, never a custody request. And now this? Her attorney's words cut like ice. This isn't about Truly. It's about control. He's trying to punish you by threatening what you love most. Christine's heart broke in a way property deeds never could. This was her child, her baby girl, and now she was being dragged into the battlefield Kody had created. That night, Truly crept into her mother's arms. Mom, why is he doing this now? Christine stroked her hair, swallowing the lump in her throat. Because I stopped letting him decide who I am. The child whispered, almost too softly to hear, I don't want to go. Christine held her close, tears burning her eyes. This was no longer about documents or LLCs. This was about her daughter's heart. The custody hearing. 2 weeks later, the courtroom was packed beyond capacity. Not for property, not for trust funds, but for a child. Christine sat tall, hands folded, her eyes unflinching. Beside her, Truly squeezed her hand before being guided to the back by court staff. Across the room, Kody entered, alone. No Robyn, no allies. Just the weight of his choices pressing down on his shoulders. He looked thinner, worn, as though the very empire he built had begun to consume him. His attorney shuffled papers nervously, but everyone knew where the room's attention lay. The judge wasted no time. We are here to revisit custody arrangements of minor child Truly Brown. In light of submitted evidence and psychological evaluations, this court will hear testimony. Christine's attorney spoke firmly. Mr. Brown had no interest in custody until the loss of control over his public image. For 6 months, he made no effort to see, call, or provide for his daughter. This isn't parenting. This is punishment. Christine took the stand. Her voice was sharp, unwavering. This is not about co-parenting. This is Kody's attempt to punish me for leaving. He cannot abide a world where he isn't in control. The bombshell. Just as the tension peaked, the court clerk delivered a flash drive, an anonymous submission. The video rolled on screen. Kody, in what he thought was a private conversation, sneering, "If Christine wants a war, she'll get one. She thinks she can leave and take everything, but I'll take what she loves most." The courtroom erupted. Gasps, cries, chaos. Christine's face drained of color. Kody stammered. It was taken out of context. But even he didn't believe it. The judge's gavel slammed down. Enough! Custody proceedings are suspended until a full psychological assessment of Mr. Brown is complete. Christine exhaled shakily, half relief, half horror. Sometimes justice doesn't arrive in grand gestures. Sometimes it comes in the form of a careless, whispered threat. Caught on tape. The call. Later that evening, Christine's phone rang. Robyn. Christine ignored the first call. The second, but on the third she answered. "Why are you calling me?" Christine asked coldly. Robyn's voice was shaking. "I didn't know he filed for custody. I swear, Christine, I didn't want this." Christine's tone was razor sharp. "You knew enough. You've always known he'd stop at nothing. You chose silence. I didn't want to be the bad guy, Robyn whispered. Too late, Christine said flatly and hung up. That night, she wrote a letter. Not for the court. Not for Kody. For Truly. You are the reason I stayed. And the reason I left. I needed you to see what love looks like when it refuses to beg to be noticed. She folded it carefully, placing it in a drawer. One day, her daughter would read it. And understand. The showdown. The custody hearing resumed. Reporters crowded the halls, cameras flashing, fans waiting with bated breath. Christine walked in steady, holding Truly's hand until the bailiff gently guided her to a seat. Truly gave a nervous smile. Christine mouthed, "You're brave." Kody entered moments later, his face gaunt, his steps heavy. He looked less like a father fighting for his child and more like a man drowning in the consequences of his own neglect. The child psychologist took the stand. I met with Truly 3 times. She is thoughtful, clear, and brave. She does not hate her father. She does not even think he is cruel. But she does not know him as a dad. He was absent in moments that mattered most. She loves her mother, who has been consistent and present. The courtroom fell silent, no gasps. Just the crushing weight of truth spoken in a child's words. Christine wiped her eyes but remained composed. Kody bowed his head, his face pale. The judge nodded solemnly. Let the full report be added to the record. Kody's lawyer tried desperately to spin the narrative. Your Honor, this is the result of parental alienation, fueled by media campaigns. Christine's attorney cut in sharply. Objection. Unless they can provide evidence, these claims are baseless. Sustained, the judge replied. Kody's plea, at last, Kody spoke. His voice shook. I messed up. I know I did. But I love my daughter. I want a chance to be her dad. To make up for the time I lost. Christine's eyes locked on him, steady and cutting. Then where were you when she needed you? Where were you when she begged for you at her surgery? When she asked why you weren't at her play? You had every chance, Kody, every chance. And you chose other things. Other people. I was overwhelmed, Kody croaked. You weren't overwhelmed, Christine replied, her voice like steel. You were selfish. And there's a difference. The judge raised his hand. Enough. Let us return to the facts. The psychologist concluded, Truly does not oppose visitation, but she is not emotionally ready for shared custody. She fears becoming an outsider in her father's world. She prefers visits supervised on her terms, not court-mandated. The judge turned to Christine. Would you allow supervised visitation? Christine nodded. Yes, if she desires it. Not because he demands it. Because she chooses it. Then the judge looked directly at Kody. Your daughter does not want to be a pawn in your wars. Can you honor that? Kody's lips trembled. Finally, he whispered, I don't want to lose her. Then stop trying to win, the judge replied firmly. Parenthood isn't built in court filings. It's built in the unseen moments when no one is watching. The gavel struck. Recess. Christine walked out, her hands shaking but her back straight. Reporters shouted questions, but she kept walking. This wasn't about headlines. It was about her daughter. And as Janelle slipped beside her and whispered, You're doing the right thing, Christine gave the smallest nod. Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't feel like victory. It feels like survival. Doing the right thing doesn't feel like victory. It feels like survival. Kody Brown once claimed there was nothing left. No money, no resources, nothing to fight over. But when the courtroom screens lit up, the truth told a different story. Photos of Robyn and Kody's newly refurbished bathroom appeared before everyone, a luxury remodel dripping with wealth. Imported marble, a $30,000 steam shower, gold trim polished to a blinding shine. It looked less like a family home and more like a 5-star resort. They told us the family was broke, Janelle said bitterly, pointing to the images. But apparently, the only family that mattered lived in Robyn's house. The room buzzed. Kody shifted uncomfortably, his face turning to stone as Christine's attorney stood tall. Your Honor, we now request formal charges of fraudulent misrepresentation of marital assets, in addition to breach of fiduciary duty within the Brown family trust. The judge's nod was deliberate, the words chilling, motion under review. And then our Mary stood. No one expected it. Not Christine, not the audience, not even Kody. I'd like to say something, Mary's voice cut through the tension. The judge gave her the floor. She walked forward slowly, shoulders heavy, but her eyes finally clear. I spent years convincing myself that staying made me strong, that silence was noble. But it wasn't, it was fear. She turned to Kody, her voice trembling but razor sharp. You made me feel worthless, as if love had to be won over and over again, and even then, it was never mine to keep. You promised things you had no intention of giving. I kept telling myself I was fine, but I wasn't. I was breaking. Her voice faltered, but she pressed on. Christine, when you left, I criticized you. But now, I wish I had been as brave. You did what I never had the courage to do. Mary faced the judge, her decision final. I believe Christine. I believe every word. And I want my name legally removed from any joint trust tied to Kody or Robyn. The courtroom gasped. Kody lurched forward, desperate. Mary, don't! But Mary didn't even glance his way. You already made that decision for me, she said. Endings don't always come suddenly. Sometimes they arrive the moment you stop begging to matter. The judge's gavel fell. So noted. Documentation will be drawn up. Mary descended from the stand, and as she passed Christine, the two women locked eyes. No words, no embrace. Just a silent recognition. Betrayal had burned them both, but now they were finally stepping out of the fire. A shocking witness. The next witness stunned the gallery. Robyn's ex-husband, Dave Jessup. As he stepped forward, Robyn's face drained of color. Kody's eyes widened, uncomprehending. Mr. Jessup, Christine's attorney began smoothly. During your divorce from Robyn, did she ever demonstrate a history of manipulation with legal documents? Dave nodded grimly. Yes. She once fabricated paperwork to make it look as though I had abandoned our children. It was proven false in court, but the damage was already done. The entire courtroom stiffened. Robyn's new lawyer leapt up. Irrelevant. Christine's attorney didn't flinch. On the contrary, Your Honor, this shows a pattern of legal misrepresentation. The judge's ruling was swift. Overruled. Testimony allowed. Christine turned toward Robyn, her voice steady, cold. You always said you wanted peace. But peace built on lies is just war in disguise. Robyn bowed her head, silent. The judge announced recess for lunch. But no one moved quickly. Reporters swarmed outside. The crowd hushed, their usual shouts replaced with reverent silence. They weren't watching a reality show anymore. They were watching the disintegration of a family, brick by brick. At closing arguments. When court resumed, Christine's lawyer delivered the blow. This case is not about revenge. It's about recognition. Recognition of the lies, the manipulation, and the financial and emotional destruction caused by Kody and Robyn Brown. What began as a spiritual covenant became a ledger of exploitation. He laid the final document on the table. Christine's demand. Removal from all joint accounts. Restoration of Lot 3 to her name. A complete audit of the Brown family trust, including every dollar of TLC revenue. Kody's attorney stammered. There was nothing left to defend. Kody kept his eyes on the floor. Robyn stared blankly into space. Mary and Janelle sat united, silent witnesses to the collapse of an empire. The judge's voice was calm, decisive, ruling to be delivered Monday morning. Bang! The gavel fell. The walkout Christine rose. And then something remarkable happened. First Gwen stood. Then Janelle. Then Mary. One by one they followed her out. Not in formation. Not as wives. But as survivors. And Kody? He sat frozen, alone, clutching an old family photo with shaking hands. Smiling faces stared back at him, but they looked like ghosts now. A family that was never truly his to begin with. The verdict Monday dawned quiet, not fiery, the silence after a storm. Christine stood outside the courthouse, coffee in hand, shivering not from the cold but from the weight of what she had survived. Beside her, Janelle folded her arms in solidarity. Mary lingered in her car, gathering strength. Gwen had already flown back, needing air. Robyn hadn't been seen in days. Kody's legacy was crumbling like sand slipping through his fists. Inside, the judge delivered the verdict. Christine Brown has provided sufficient proof of misrepresentation and concealment of marital property. Lot 3 is to be returned solely to her name. She is removed from all joint liability under the Brown family trust. A complete forensic audit of TLC revenue will be conducted. Christine exhaled. Not victory, release. The judge wasn't done. Any party proven to have misappropriated funds will face civil liability. And Mr. Brown, this court strongly recommends you seek independent counsel regarding potential perjury charges. Kody didn't move. Didn't blink. Robyn sat still as stone. Mary closed her eyes in quiet relief. Janelle allowed herself the smallest smile. Christine whispered to her lawyer, "We're done here." And then she walked out into the flashing cameras, her tears finally falling, not of sorrow, but of freedom. Healing doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's just the quiet act of walking away and never looking back. That night, in her new Salt Lake City rental, Christine hung up the last framed photo, her children laughing at a picnic. No Kody, no Robyn, no cameras, just them. The phone rang. Janelle's voice. "Can I come over?" Minutes later, they sat together on the porch, sipping wine under the stars. "Savannah's ready to go public," Janelle admitted. About the money, about the lies, about the years of silence. Christine studied her friend carefully. "This isn't for revenge," Janelle said. Christine nodded, her voice firm. "No, it's for every woman who was told to stay quiet. The deadliest lie is the one that convinces you no one will believe you." The next day, they filmed a video. No producers, no scripts, no filters. Just Christine and Janelle sitting on a bench speaking their truth. "We loved him," Christine said, staring into the lens. "All of us did. But love doesn't survive secrets. Love doesn't survive lies." And Janelle added softly, "We believed in something bigger than ourselves. But in the end, the only thing bigger was his ego." The screen faded. And for the first time in years, their voices belonged entirely to them. The strongest women aren't the ones who never break. They're the ones who shatter, pick up the pieces, and rise stronger than before. Monday morning arrived heavy, like a storm cloud ready to split the sky. Christine Brown was already seated, calm but unmovable, when the door opened and Mary walked into the courtroom. Her shoulders were squared, her chin lifted, and there was something new flickering in her eyes. Not rage, but not peace either. It was the expression of someone who had stayed silent too long, and now silence was no longer an option. At the defense table, Kody sat alone. Robyn's chair was empty. Her lawyer muttered something about emotional distress, but whispers around the courthouse told a different story. Whispers of cover-ups, whispered plans unraveling faster than anyone expected. Christine studied Mary carefully as she stepped to the stand. For a moment, the entire courtroom went still. Mary had always been the quiet one, the one who stayed even when she was already abandoned in every way that mattered. But today, she looked ready to tear the veil away. "Miss Brown," the judge's voice echoed, "you've been named in new filings. Are you prepared to testify under oath?" Mary's voice trembled, but her words were resolute. "Yes, Your Honor." Christine's attorney rose smoothly. "Mary, do you recall discussions in 2019 about Coyote Pass and the division of lots?" "I do," Mary whispered. "Did Kody ever tell you that Christine's lot had been changed or reassigned?" Mary blinked. "No, I didn't even know that had happened until last week." Gasps rippled through the gallery. Christine didn't flinch, but her eyes sharpened. She wasn't looking for revenge. She was searching for the truth. "Did you profit from any of the LLCs tied to that land?" The lawyer pressed. Mary shook her head. "Not a penny. Kody promised the property would stay in the family." I believed him. Christine leaned back in her chair. The words weren't surprising, but they pierced her anyway. Betrayal doesn't always come from enemies. Sometimes it's the silence of those who should have stood beside you. The questioning grew sharper. "Did you know about a secondary bank account tied to TLC earnings?" Mary hesitated, her voice barely audible. "No, but I suspected." "And what did you do about those suspicions?" Mary's eyes lowered. "Nothing. I'd already lost so much. I didn't want to lose more." Kody's face twisted. He hissed under his breath, always playing the victim. The judge's glare was like ice. "Mr. Brown, you will remain silent unless spoken to." But Mary didn't stay quiet. She turned slowly toward him. "You think I wanted to be the victim? You pushed me away years ago. I stayed because I hoped you were still the man who married me. But that man doesn't exist anymore. You built an empire of family and public, but the only person you ever protected was yourself." The courtroom froze. Christine's attorney stepped forward and handed over Mary's signed affidavit. It confirmed what many suspected. Mary had been locked out of every account since 2021. The judge accepted it and then asked gently, "Miss Brown, if you're prepared to say more, the court will hear you." Mary inhaled deeply, her voice steadying. "We weren't a family. We were a hierarchy. And when Christine walked away, I finally saw it for what it was. A system built to feed one man's pride and one woman's power. Silence isn't peace. It's just fear pretending to be peace. Reporters outside exploded with headlines. Inside, Christine's lawyer laid another bomb on the table, a trust amendment signed only by Kody and Robyn, months before Christine left. It gave Robyn total control over future real estate decisions. The judge's brows shot up. This is highly irregular. Even in plural arrangements, joint property must include all spouses. Christine stared ahead, her face like stone. She had long suspected betrayal. But seeing it in writing was a wound that bled differently. This was not just betrayal of love. It was betrayal written into law. Mary's lips trembled as she whispered to Kody, "You told us we all had a voice." Kody said nothing. Christine's attorney spoke sharply. "Your Honor, we request a full forensic audit of the Brown family trust, including land, assets, and financial dealings post-2018. Granted, the judge said without hesitation. Court will reconvene Wednesday. That night, Christine sat at her kitchen table, journals spread before her like old ghosts. She had written everything, vows, arguments, even her doubts, because deep down she knew one day she would need proof of what was real. In one entry from 2020, she had written Robyn's words, "If I left, they'd erase my name from everything." Kody hadn't denied it. He had stood silent. Christine closed her eyes, then dialed Janelle. "I need you to testify again. This time at everything." By morning, social media was on fire. Team Christine trended worldwide. Fans were enraged. Robyn stayed silent. Kody vanished from the spotlight. And Mary quietly removed the word wife from her biography. In court, Christine was steady, but her eyes softened when Janelle walked in carrying a folder. They weren't rivals anymore. They were survivors. Under oath, Janelle revealed the unthinkable. TLC production memos showing that during a cast shakeup, Kody and Robyn received secret bonuses, $75,000 each. Money earned, not for saving the family, but for Christine's departure. The courtroom gasped. Even the judge leaned back. Christine's face was pale, rigid. Her voice broke into the silence. "You got paid to lose me." Robyn finally appeared, sunglasses on, escorted by a new lawyer, sharp and cold. She motioned to dismiss all emotional charges, but the judge denied it. "We are here to litigate patterns, and the patterns are clear." Christine turned, her voice cutting the air. "Robyn, do you remember what you told me the day Truly was born? That you'd treat my children like your own? When it mattered, you chose money. You chose silence." Robyn's face hardened. Christine didn't flinch. "You didn't walk away from us, Robyn. You were never with us." "I was gone long before I left." The judge ordered a full review of all production-related income. And then came the moment that shook the entire gallery. Christine's lawyer called a surprise witness. "Gwendolyn Brown, please take the stand." Christine's daughter walked forward, clutching a file to her chest. Her voice trembled, but her words burned. "I didn't want this. I didn't want to testify against my father. But I've seen too much to stay quiet." She handed the file to the clerk. Inside were screenshots, text messages between Kody and Robyn, plans to tighten control of finances. Plans to cut Christine, Janelle, and Mary off if they ever dared to leave. Kody's face turned black with rage. Robyn's eyes went wide. "I wasn't supposed to see them," Gwen admitted. "But Dad left his iPad open one night. I saved the screenshots because I knew one day this would matter." The texts were undeniable, calculated, cold. "They didn't see my mom as a partner," Gwen said, her voice breaking. "They saw her as a liability. And when she finally left, they celebrated." He said, "Finally, she's out. Now we can build for real. That's your daughter you were talking about, Dad." Kody leapt to his feet, shouting, "She's twisting everything." "She's just a kid." But Gwen's eyes locked onto his. "I'm not a kid. I'm the daughter who watched her mother cry alone while you built a kingdom for someone else." The judge's gavel slammed down. "Mr. Brown, one more outburst and you'll be held in contempt." Christine finally looked at Kody. Her voice was soft, final, devastating. "You're not just losing wives. You're losing your children." Kody sank into his chair, hollow-eyed. Robyn stared at the floor. And Christine sat taller, not triumphant, but unbroken. Broken. The courtroom carried a chill that no air conditioning could create. It was the weight of years of betrayal, secrets, and unfinished wars pressing down on everyone inside. Christine Brown sat tall, unshaken, her hands folded neatly in her lap as if she had been rehearsing this very moment for years. Her attorney whispered something, but she didn't flinch. She didn't blink. She was already prepared for war. Across from her, Kody Brown looked like a man on the edge. His jaw was locked tight, arms folded across his chest as though he could physically shield himself from what was coming. Robyn clung desperately to his arm, her face red and tight, trying to hide the panic already creeping across her features. The judge's voice thundered through the silence. Christine Brown versus Kody Brown and associated parties. Case number 2025. Property division and entitlement to assets. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. This wasn't about paperwork or deeds. This was about years of broken promises, whispered assurances, and sacrifices made in vain. For Christine, it was about the moment she realized that her loyalty had been bought with lies and sold for profit. 2 years earlier, outside the infamous Brown cul-de-sac in Arizona, Christine had stood silently on the edge of Lot 3, her lot. Or at least that's what she had been promised. For years, Kody had assured her that land would belong to her and her daughters. Yet when she combed through the paperwork, her name was nowhere to be found. No deed, no LLC, no legal trace. Just a handshake, a smile, and silence. Instead of breaking down, Christine zipped her suitcase and began to pack. The sound of clothes sliding into cardboard boxes became her goodbye, a farewell to decades of compromise. Now here in court, the reckoning had arrived. The first witness was called Janelle. She moved to the stand with the unease of someone walking between live grenades. Her voice was low, but her words were heavy. Christine was promised that land in every way but legal. Kody let out a sharp, dismissive laugh, earning an irritated glare from the judge. Christine's attorney then unveiled the first blow, a massive whiteboard image from a family meeting caught on camera. The infamous scene where Kody charted out the land division, circling Lot 3 with Christine's name written beside it. Proof on TV, but not on paper. The whispers rippled through the gallery. Did Robyn manipulate it all behind Christine's back? Christine finally spoke, her voice steady but weighted with years of silence. He promised me that land. Not for me alone, but for my daughters. I gave up parts of myself for a home that never existed. Kody's lawyer tried to silence her. Objection? Sustained. But the damage was done. Then came the shock no one expected. Christine's attorney produced a hidden recording. A hot mic moment off camera. Kody's voice played through the speakers. Make her believe she's getting Lot 3. It'll shut her up long enough. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Robyn's grip loosened. You said you never said that, she hissed at Kody. His eyes went wide. It's out of context, he muttered, but even he didn't sound convinced. The judge leaned forward. Mr. Brown, was that your voice? Silence. Christine shut her eyes, not in defeat, but in release. For the first time, she was being heard. And then Janelle dropped another bombshell in the hallway during recess. Robyn had secretly purchased property through another company, long before Christine discovered the betrayal. Christine's face turned cold. She wasn't just forgotten, she had been strategically erased. Back in court, Christine revealed her weapon, a folder stuffed with years of receipts, LLC filings, and hidden property transfers. Every paper trail led straight to Kody and Robyn. Robyn fidgeted nervously with her bracelet, twisting and untwisting. Kody couldn't take his eyes off the folder. Emails revealed Robyn's direct involvement, one even instructing an attorney to make sure Christine does not know anything about this change. Keep her cooperative until filming is complete. The courtroom froze. The judge demanded answers. Kody stammered excuses about stress, about TLC, about family pressure. But Christine cut through with icy calm. He told me I was paranoid. He told me I was crazy. Meanwhile, they were stealing from me. Together. Then Christine turned to Robyn, her voice slicing like glass. You didn't just take the land. You took the last bit of respect I had left for you. Robyn's eyes brimmed with tears. But Christine wasn't finished. She revealed another email, a chilling line that would haunt fans forever. Phase her out slowly. If she resists, blame the network. Signed RB, the courtroom gasped. Robyn screamed, that's fake! But the forensic watermark proved it genuine. Kody put his head in his hands. Robyn fled in tears. The judge ordered further investigation. This was no longer just about land. It was about manipulation, theft, and betrayal, the kind that destroys families from the inside out. As Christine rose to leave, she turned back one last time. There was no triumph in her eyes, only serenity. She wasn't asking for permission anymore. She wasn't part of Kody's world. She was building her own. She was building her own.